some other things as well right now. How about a look at sports? It's Inside the Game with Steve Clarke. Good morning, Steve. A lot of interesting things happening in sports right now.
Well, I got to tell you, Dave, Ron, and Pat, I mean, I'm not sure the Pistons fans have left the Little Caesars Arena or whether they're marching in downtown New York to Adam Silver's office and complain about the end of Game 4.
It's just crazy that they then acknowledge a foul should have been called. I mean, no, it's surprising there wasn't a riot breaking out. I mean, that's a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, it is. And now the New York Knicks have a 3-1 series lead where probably could have been 2-2. Tim Hardaway would have had 3 shots at the free throw line. All he needed to do was make 1 to tie to send it to overtime and 2 of the 3 to give the Pistons a victory because the foul occurred with only 0.3 of a second left. But this has been an incredible series between these two teams. It's a throwback to the 1990s with all the physicality that went on during the course of the game, and it was probably one of many fouls that weren't called during this game and throughout the entire series.
Yeah, and great point, Steve. It is a look back at the bad boys, right? I mean, and that was they were a team that would intimidate you, and yeah, it should be tied 2-2 right now, heading into a closer series, but we'll keep pulling for the Pistons.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think the Pistons have outplayed the Knicks for most of the series, but you got to credit New York, especially players like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, who have been hitting clutch shot after clutch shot. Kate Cunningham of the Pistons and Dennis Schroeder's, also answered the bell, but just not enough. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, I mean, it's a snorer. The Cavaliers looking to sweep Miami tonight after handling the Heat, the worst playoff loss in their franchise history Saturday. Guard Darius Garland is questionable for the Cavs with a toe injury in Game 4, but I don't think the Cavaliers need him and can probably afford to rest him.
Yeah, and I've been watching. Look, I gave up the NBA for quite a while, to be honest with you, but I picked it up the last couple of years. And I have to tell you, brothers and sisters, if you like basketball, I walked away from it because I thought they stopped playing basketball. It is physical. It is back to boxing out. It's into screens and passing the ball. It's a fun time to watch the NBA right now.
Well, and I think your listenership likes the physicality in sports, and that's why we're big football fans as well. And what a weekend it was for Ohio State at the NFL draft in Green Bay this weekend. Ohio State set a school record with 14 players taken in the 7 rounds. The NCAA record is 15 players set by Georgia in 2022. Michigan had 13 players selected in last year's draft. The first Buckeye off the board was receiver Emeka Egbuka. 3 other players, including defensive tackle Tyleik Williams, was selected by Detroit at number 28.
Yeah, 4 going in the first 4 rounds, 14 overall. Pretty impressive stuff. Michigan had some players going one player going actually higher than any of the Ohio State players, I believe.
Yeah, so Mason Graham went 5th to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns traded down from 2 to 5, picked up Mason Graham, and it was quite something to see there. He's one of 3 Wolverines that went in the top half of the first round after Graham at number 5, tight end Colson Loveland went number 10 over to all of the Chicago Bears, and Big Kenneth Grant. Wow, he went to 13. That was a big surprise and how far he moved up to the Miami Dolphins. Now, last fall, it was thought that Wolverine cornerback Will Johnson was selected in the top 5 overall, but he only played 6 games last year because of injury. Couldn't participate in the combine, couldn't participate in his pro day in Ann Arbor or anyone's team site, and that took an enormous hit on his draft potential. He slid down midway in the second round, being taken by Arizona. Now, I mentioned, about how great rivalries are between the pros and the colleges. You have Will Johnson, who was an All-American in 2023. In practice now, he'll be going up against the legendary Marvin Harrison in practice this summer down in Arizona. How about that? And then Arizona also drafted Denzel Burke, who was also drafted by Arizona in the 5th round. So this is going to be fascinating. You have Will Johnson and Denzel Burke, rookies fighting for a position and practicing against Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, and you got to love it because, look, these guys have fierce rivalries in college, and it at least goes into the locker room in the pros, right? You've got Michigan players and Ohio State players jawing back and forth, and I'm sure it brings an energy to the locker room as well.
Well, what is the clubhouse going to look like for the Browns now that they've got somebody named Sanders on the roster, right?
Well, I tell you, Shedeur Sanders is one of the most interesting stories in all of the NFL draft weekend. A lot of people thought he was going to be taken, early in the first round or mid in the first round, and he ended up going fifth to the Cleveland Browns, one of the teams that thought would pick him up early on in this draft. And there's a lot about his family, his personalities. There's a lot about old school NFL. There's a perception about where he thinks he is and where other people think he's at. I mean, he's going to continue to be one of the biggest stories when the NFL training camps open up in July through August, and whether he makes a roster spot, because he should make a roster spot. But right now, Cleveland has 4 quarterbacks on their roster, not even sure who their first string is yet.
Yeah, it's surprising that they were the ones who selected him, but my goodness, when you're all the way down in the 5th round, what in the world are you going to do? Hey, baseball continues on as the season continues in high gear.
Yeah, the Tigers swept the Orioles in their weekend series. The Guardians lost 2 of 3 to Boston. Last Monday, Dave, the Guardians were first place in the Central. Now it's Detroit leading by 2.5 games. 2 of the better teams in baseball play right in the American League Central.
I don't know if you know this, Steve, because you're in another state, but there's a big rivalry between Ohio and the state of Michigan. I don't know if you know. But it just raises its head in everything, right?
Oh my gosh! I mean, there are websites out there that talk about the day-to-day that goes on between Michigan versus Ohio State, and you might be for one particular team or the other, but you feel like you spent half the time slamming the other one.
Hey, next week, I want to say this real quickly as we wrap up this segment. Next week, it's going to be all about golf, and that will be a conversation between Pat Odie Murray and Steve Clarke.
Yeah, that's right. We'll take a little break.
Ron could be in there, too.
and Ron, yeah, I have nothing to say on that.
Might have to.
Thank you, Steve Clarke. Fabulous job, brother.
You let me know. I'll talk about anything.
All right. Good to know. I'm writing that down.
Yeah.